This next person is a great friend of mine. Fun fact, she was named after a character in a TV show based in the 1970s. Please put your hands together in rapid succession. Jackie Rapetti!
You've been talking to my mom. After a year and a half of being in a relationship, my boyfriend decided to break up with me the day before Valentine's Day. Woo! Thank you. Thank you for assuming I was not at fault for anything. I appreciate that. That's why I'm here tonight, to get validation. It's really weird being broken up with the day before Valentine's Day because a part of me just thinks that he was like looking at his calendar and he was like, shit, I didn't get her anything. And so he was like budgeting and he was like, I'd rather just break up with her. Which is understandable, he was a broke college kid, so I get it. And now I'm back on the meat market. And that's fun because you can spell meat either way and it makes sense. I'm looking to meet people, make new acquaintances, and find salami. No, I don't know. I'll take a mini hot dog too. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. It's funny, the catalyst for our breakup was he wants kids someday, and I just really love having nothing in my uterus. Today, tomorrow, and forever. But he was pretty adamant about it. He knew he wanted kids, which is interesting to me because I feel like guys want kids like they want like a chalupa at Taco Bell. You know, they're like, that sounds good. And I'm like, but that's gonna be a mess later. Think about all of the cleanup, you know? It's a lot. And then I was like, you know, I think people forget, men and women, when they want kids, it's very like, they think of a kid as like a mini them, which makes sense, but I think people forget that that kid is also going to be 50% of the person that annoys you the most. And I think people forget that, you know, and I know I annoyed my ex because he once told me that I bring him the highest highs and the lowest lows he's ever felt. And I think he meant that to be like cutting, but I was like, oh, I'm powerful. Oh my God, I was like, that's the coolest thing anyone's ever told me. Okay. But yeah, I think people just forget that it's like, you know, if we had a kid together, you're gonna get more of me, and I think that you want less. So I'm very confused because he like wanted kids with me, and we're very opposite. Like I am from New York, I'm indoorsy, and he was very outdoorsy and liked hunting and fishing and all of that. And I know that he had dreams of like having a child and bringing it into the woods, like decked out, camo, guns, whatever. And our hypothetical kid would go along with that because they'd have his adventurous side and want to do that. But then it would be time to like shoot, like for the deer or the elk. And this hypothetical kid would for sure be like, we're gonna kill the animal? I already named it. And then he would have been like, yo, why do you think we have the guns and everything with us? And that kid would have been like, I thought it was a prop. I thought it was like part of the costume. And that would be me coming out in the kid, you know, so it would have never worked. And I don't think he ever thought about that, you know. I like peeing with walls around me. Call me crazy. I don't think he thought about that. It's interesting though, because I have friends who are freezing their eggs and they want kids in the future, and Honestly, the first time I ever heard about freezing eggs, I was at the gynecologist and she was talking to me, just like going over like my vitals, normal things, and then she was like, you should think about freezing eggs. And she asked me that like after she was asking me like if I exercise and work out, so I genuinely thought it was like a new like diet. And I was like, ew, that sounds gross. I don't want to eat frozen eggs. And she was like, what? And I was like, what? And then she explained to me what it was, and I was like, oh, that sounds even worse. No thanks, I will not partake in that. I think it's funny too because people today are like, kids these days, like what's wrong with them? And I'm like, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. These are the frozen egg people. They're all freezer burnt. You know? We've never done that before. We don't know how long it takes them to thaw. Okay? It could be decades, you know? Like the Earth or whatever. I don't know. It took a long time with the glaciers. I'm not a scientist, but I think I'm onto something there. Yeah, it hasn't even been a week since the breakup, and I'm doing all the stages, and I've been reflecting on our time together, and I do think I learned that I learned about myself that I can be a jealous girlfriend, which is like, ew, gross, you know. But I think it would be hard not to get jealous in situations because like he would be talking to his buddies and like comparing like racks that they'd seen, you know, and like, yeah, I saw a good like 5-point rack the other day, right? You know, like elk talk or whatever. And I was like, I'd like butt in and be like, you have a perfectly good 2-point rack right here. What are you even talking about? And they talk about like killing animals and be like, well, I kill it on stage all around Montana, so. You're like, shut up, you annoying New York girl. Yeah, I would get so jealous. He like went out to get hunting supplies and he'd come back with rope and I would get excited. I'm like, wow, you thought of me for once. And taking that to the bedroom. He was like, no, this is for hanging meat in trees. And I was like, is that a euphemism? It wasn't. Hanging meat in trees, ew. And then this winter, he wanted to get into beaver trapping. I went with him to Shields, and like, you know, I don't belong in Shields. Like, and I knew that. You know, I was getting looks. They're like, cool, what do you buy? I was like, do you have a vibrator section? I belong here. But he took me to like look at like the cages and the traps for the animals to trap, and I was like, dude, you've already trapped a beaver. Like, what are we doing? I don't get it. But now I'm like, I can't imagine getting on the dating apps that, you know, we met on Tinder. I'm like, I can't go through that again. And I am at a point where I'm like, I'm 34, maybe my soulmate is dead. Oh my God. The relief I felt. I'm like, the math also, I mean, statistically, people die, you know, and he could have been like the best guy ever, but he died, you know, and that brings me comfort. I love that he's dead, and I think it could be a new app called Dead to Me, where, no, listen, you swipe on obituaries, and then you can like claim one and be like, that was my guy, and just like create a backstory. I don't know, I think from this reaction, I think I should go forward with it. But yeah, y'all can catch me on Dead to Me, back on the meat market, guys. Let's bring Thomas back up here.
hear it one more time for Jackie.